everyone. Megan Purcell here with megsteachingjourney.org, coming to you today with another ESL teaching strategies video. So today we are going to be talking about error correction, positive error correction when teaching with ESL online. Today I'll be talking particularly about VIPKID, but this would work with any ESL situation. So let's get started with today's video all about positive error correction. Parents of our students are really particular about correcting their students' English speaking errors. This is really, really important. However, we want to make sure that our correction doesn't interfere with the students' learning and especially doesn't interfere with their confidence. So, how do we do that in the classroom? I'm going to tell you. So I will be starting with level 1 through 3. There are different methods for different levels. So we are going to be chatting about the ways to balance error correction in order to maintain that positive classroom atmosphere. So let's jump right in. Number 1 is to remain patient and positive. So it's really important that we allow our students to finish the material and then we prompt them with praise and encouragement, and then we offer that error correction. We never want to interrupt our students when they make a mistake. This allows them to finish their train of thought, and then we encourage them to boost their confidence, and then we make that error correction in a positive way. This is so important because it creates a safe space for our students to not only learn English, but to share what they are learning. So always be super patient and then super positive. Tip number 2 is model the correct sentence structure. So the students are gonna make those grammatical mistakes and we want to support them, but at the same time, model the correct sentence structure. So for example, a lot of my students leave out that word the. And let's just use my whiteboard here. I might write the sentence on my whiteboard, and then if they leave out that word the, I will model it for them. Model the correct sentence structure and get them to repeat. So using things like a whiteboard, you can also use those on screen functions like underlining and circling. That just helps your student visualize their mistake, and then making those vocal inflection changes can also really help your student know what mistake they made. Another one is finger counting. That's another good one. So let's say that my student leaves out the word So I'll say, this is a ball. And that's a good way to model that sentence structure so that they know there's an extra word that they missed or they left out. So that's just a couple ways that we can model the correct sentence structures for our students when they do make those grammatical errors. Tip number 4 is attempt to correct most mistakes. So as I said before, our VIPKID parents are very strict on us and their students about correcting. They want all of their English errors corrected. And so we as VIPKID teachers want to make sure that we do this. Now, when I say attempt to correct most mistakes, what you want to focus on first and foremost are those lesson objectives. So that vocabulary, the verbs, the phonics blends, the sentence frames, The ones that are the objective for that particular lesson are the ones you are going to focus on. So if they make an error in any of those areas, you want to make sure you correct them. And then, when appropriate, correct other mistakes as well. We take this approach because we don't want to, kind of put a damper on our students' confidence. We want to build them up. So if you find yourself making a lot of error corrections and you feel like you're just making too many because your student is really struggling, maybe back off the ones that aren't in the objectives. And then you can always list it in the feedback, little tips for them to work on to make those corrections outside of class so that we can keep that positive atmosphere within our classrooms. Tip number 3 is to isolate phonemic sounds. So when our students learn a new sound, we want to make sure that they can produce that sound accurately. And VIPKID uses something called synthetic phonics to do this. I do have a video all about that, and it is linked to the end of this video, so check that out. But for example, our students want to learn the finest sounds. So this helps our students produce words more naturally and achieve better pronunciation. And so, for example, we want to say s instead of sa. So we want our students to say ip, sip, instead of sa, ip, So synthetic phonics is super important when teaching with VIPKID, and we do want to make those synthetic phonic corrections. So it's really typical for our students to say sa and ma. And so we really want to make sure that we're really particular and we make those corrections, because simple mistakes like this can lead to greater mistakes in the future. So synthetic phonics, know it, learn it, and do it. Tip number 4 is attempt to correct most mistakes. So as I said before, our VIPKID parents are very strict on us and their students about correcting. They want all of their English errors corrected. And so we as VIPKID teachers want to make sure that we do this. Now, when I say attempt to correct most mistakes, what you want to focus on first and foremost are those lesson objectives. So that vocabulary, the verbs, the phonics blends, the sentence frames, the ones that are the objective for that particular lesson are the ones you are going to focus on. So if they make an error in any of those areas, you want to make sure you correct them. And then, when appropriate, correct other mistakes as well. We take this approach because we don't want to, kind of put a damper on our students' confidence. We want to build them up. So if you find yourself making a lot of error corrections and you feel like you're just making too many because your student is really struggling, maybe back off the ones that aren't in the objectives. And then you can always list it in the feedback, little tips for them to work on to make those corrections outside of class so that we can keep that positive atmosphere within our classrooms. Tip number 5, try different methods to encourage repetition. We want to have our students elicit proper repetition at least 2 times for new vocabulary, new verbs, any kind of new content. So we do this using that ping pong repetition, and this helps our students to recall and reproduce more independently. And so we want to have fun with this, and we want to do this in different ways. So some things that I like to do with my students is things like chanting. So if I'm teaching them the word ball, I might say ball, and then the second time we might chant it. I might say ball, ball, ball. That's a fun way. And then another one, I might try singing. So I would say ball, 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 ball. and that's a fun way to get your student to repeat. And then another one, I might clap. So I might clap if it's a 1-syllable word. I might clap twice if it's a 2-syllable word. So clapping out the syllables is another fun way to get your student to repeat. And then another one I like to do is alter my volume. So I might yell it, ball! Or then I might encourage the student to come close, ball. And so these are just some fun ways that we can help our students with repetition. It just makes the vocabulary stick. And again, just keeps their attention and interest and allows them to have fun while in your classroom. You know, when I use these methods in my classroom, my students usually get a really big kick out of it. I just usually make sure that it is purposeful as well as entertaining.
I watch TV.
I watch TV.
Very good. I watch TV.
I watch TV.
I watch TV.
I watch TV. I watch
Good job. Very, very good. Bite the apple.
I apple.
Mm-hmm.
Apple. Bite apple. Bite apple.
Mm-hmm. Say, bite the apple.
That's the apple.
Very good. Excellent, Mom. Can you turn?
No, I do not turn.
Ah, you can say that, but let's do no, I cannot.
No, I cannot.
Turn. Good. All right. Can you walk?
No, I cannot walk.
Good job. Ooh, can you talk?
No, I cannot talk.
Good. Oh, can you walk your dog?
Yes.
Oh,
No, I cannot walk a dog.
my dog.
My dog.
Very good. So, Dino, can you walk your dog? No, I cannot walk my dog.
No, I cannot walk my dog.
Yes, there you go. You got it. Okay, so have or has?
I had
Mm-hmm.
3 jackets.
Good. Oh, 3 what?
Jackets.
Yes, good. Okay.
Ned has 2 jackets. You have 2 jackets. 2
Good. Jackets.
jackets.
Good job.
I want to make a transition into our intermediate level students. So we're going to talk about error correction with level 4, 5, and 6. This is a little bit different. So everything that we've talked about so far pretty much goes out the window except for one area, and I will start with that. So number 1 is just like level 1 through 3, and that is to remain patient, and positive. So again, we want to make sure that we never interrupt our students and that we allow them to finish whatever material they are working on, and then we offer praise, and then we make that error correction. So again, we want to make sure that we are creating a safe environment for our students to feel like they can share and learn English effectively and boost their confidence. So be positive and patient, even with your upper level students. That rule applies for both. So tip number 2 is to allow the student to self-correct. So we want to offer guidance to our students so that they can correct themselves. Remember, these are your intermediate students, so we want to maybe try repeating the student's error to them while maybe emphasizing that specific mistake. For example, if my student says, "I live in a horse," yes, it happens. So I might say horse or house. And then this usually reminds the student, and it makes them aware of their mistake. And then it also allows them to attempt to correct their mistake. And all we did was just offer them some guidance. Another good way for error correction is to ask clarifying questions. So let's say a student is reading a passage and they mispronounce the word large. So I might circle that while they're reading, let them go on ahead and finish the entire passage, and then I might go back and I'll draw an arrow and I might ask them, what is this word? Let them take a good hard look at it. Most of the time, they will come in with the correct pronunciation. But if not, then I know, okay, this is a word that they struggle with, so let's work on it. Let's talk about why it's large instead of larg. And so I just circle it. I ask them, what is this word? Let them try to sound it out and then work from there. A lot of times it's just them kind of reading too fast and kind of skimming over a word without really looking at it. So just be mindful of that. That's a really good way to allow our students to correct themselves. Tip number 3 is to elicit the target language with comprehension check questions. So we want to ask students questions about the lesson reading that requires them to use the target language from that lesson, and particularly the lesson objective. So let's say that my student was reading a passage about technology. And every time they get to that word computer, they either don't pronounce it correctly, or maybe when I ask a question, they don't know what a computer is. And so throughout that lesson, where I see appropriate, I'm going to ask comprehension check questions. So I might bring up my phone, I might show them a picture of a computer and ask them, what is this? And let them look at it and let them try to tell me. If they say it is, they don't know, then I know that I can help them. If they, look at it and they're mispronouncing it, then, I can keep asking them comprehension check questions. This is just a great method. Asking them a question requires them to use the word in their response. And this is so helpful for them to just practice that lesson objective content.
Created a bright flash to make a much brighter and clearer picture, both in the day and at night. If you wanted a picture taken, only photographers could do so.
Good. Photographers. Very good. Ooh, what is this?
This is a camera.
Yes, very good. And what is a camera?
A device that is used for taking pictures or making movies.
Good. This word here? Device. Yes, very good. Okay, let's look at this word. Overpass.
An overpass is a bridge, a boat, a road. Some overpass are
So this is bridge.
Ray.
Yeah.
Hudson picked up some corn and took it back to the village. He looked at the vegetables they had grown and smiled, because he was able to bring the shelters and Native Americans scattered through agriculture.
Good. Settlers.
Settlers.
Good. Okay. What did Tsoen smile at?
Hudson smiled as he was able to bring the settlers and Native Americans scattered through agriculture.
Very good.
That was today's video all about positive error correction. I hope that you enjoyed this ESL teaching strategies video. And if you did, I want you to give it a like, and then I want to hear from you. What part of today's content stuck out to you the most? So go on ahead and leave me a comment. And if you aren't a subscriber, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel and check out my weekly content. Until I see you again, goodbye.